Hey guys, Sport to Death, and welcome back to the Infectious Madness of Dr. Dekker. So I was just testing my keyboard. I just typed in the word fart just to see what would happen, and Ilan asked me, "Are you happy?" Yes, I am happy right now.
You seem happy. You have a very positive energy.
That's good to know. Okay, so when we left off last time, we did the interview with Ilan. And I highly suspect that Claire may be the murderer. But Claire had an appointment at 11 o'clock, and apparently Ben found Dr. Dekker's body at 10:20. Exactly, because he looked at his watch. And I know that because I went back and looked at the old videos to see if I could get some clues, which I think we desperately need. So, today, let's start our interview with Claire, since I think that there's more information there. And, oh yeah, she's in the red, so we need to ask some questions. Hang on, and let's get started with Claire. Okay, so, how are you today?
The anniversary of my parents' death today. I went to the lake house. I always go to the lake house anyway, but it's also where they died.
Were they stabbed with a steak knife? Also, how did your parents die? Okay.
They died of carbon monoxide poisoning. I was staying at a friend's house. Otherwise, I would have died too.
That's very convenient, Claire. Alright. Let's just keep going on this path. What did you do at the lake house with, I think, your dead husband's body?
I stood for a while, looking across the water. It's peaceful there. It's the place that makes me feel the most. There was a girl there, by the lake, only about 9 or 10. She was fishing, if you can call it that, with one of those nets on a stick.
Okay, sure, fishing. Did you speak to the girl?
I don't know why I talked to her. She looked sad. I don't usually talk to children, but she seemed different, special. I'm allowed to talk to her, aren't I, Doctor?
As long as you talk with your mouth and not with a steak knife, yes. Yes, you can talk to the girl.
Good. It felt nice. I felt like I was being nice. I felt human. So I can find her and talk to her again, Doctor.
I guess you can talk to the girl. Yeah, you can talk to the girl again, why not?
Then I will. I'll look for her next time I'm there.
Okay. Why was the girl sad?
David had been hunting again, and, well, she's seen some of the skins he hung around the lake house.
David. That was the name of her husband, whom she stabbed with a steak knife, and at one point she did say he was dead, but it doesn't come back up in the memories. Where is David today?
David wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least I didn't see him.
Sure you didn't.
I didn't go inside. I forgot my key, and the spare was missing.
Okay. What skins did the girl see?
Animal skins. David hunts, then skins. It's horrible, really. He's not really good at either job, so the skins still have great lumps of bloody carcass hanging off them. I'm sure he'll get better with practice.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get better with practice. What were you doing on Valentine's Day?
The day Dr. Dekker was killed, I had a session with him in the morning at my usual time, 11 o'clock. That was the last time I saw him.
Okay, so she went to see him at 11 a.m., not p.m., which does make sense. So he was married at 10:20 p.m. That means Ellen was the last person to see him alive. Okay, what did you talk to Dekker about in your last session?
Dr. Dekker made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. I'll be taking it to the grave with me, though. As did he.
Okay, he gave you an offer you couldn't refuse, so he's the godfather. Alright, so there's a lot more questions here that seem to be the same we already... Well, how did you meet David? Let's do that.
Met isn't the right word. David has always been there, in the shadows, on the periphery. I move in very exclusive circles. You tend to see the same faces.
Okay. Is he imaginary? You know what? I've got this great keyboard. Let's try that. Is David imaginary? Because she's weird. And this is all very dicey. Imaginary. Is David imaginary? And then question mark.
David wasn't there.
Ah, thanks. Okay. Hey, it was a shot. I thought so. Do you love your husband?
Love? Yes. I suppose I always will.
The guy who was always there and you don't know how he met him. How did you meet David? There's something more about meeting David. I know there's more there, and that actually has me curious. What kind of exclusive circles? There's probably more info there.
I don't move in any circles anymore. Those people were my parents' friends, not mine.
Okay. When did your parents die?
It was 12 years ago. I was still very young. Too young to be an orphan anyway. I had to toughen up quickly.
Okay. How did the girl seem special? You're kind of getting all over... You know what?
I don't know. I suppose she just reminded me of me. I spent a lot of time alone as a child. She said she was trying to catch some strange creatures that she's seen in the water.
Interesting. Strange creature. What strange creature is the girl seeing? You know, I want to actually ask about the parents. Like, who are your parents' friends? So... Because I think there's something there. Who were your parents, apostrophe, friends? Oh yeah, so much better with the keyboard. There we go.
I'm happy to discuss all of these things, just one at a time.
I just asked you about your parents' friends. That's one question. All right, let's talk about the creature. What strange creature had the girl seen?
I don't know. Minnows, probably. Everything's strange when you're a child.
It's not a horrible Cthulhu monster? All right, what were you doing on Valentine's night?
Valentine's Day night, I was at the lake house, watching David, like I always do.
Why were you watching David?
He has trouble with his mental faculties and is getting worse.
And you let him out to hunt?
I watch him and make sure nothing bad happens.
All right, I got one more question for you. Why does David hunt? All right. Especially if he's so bad at it. You know, is he hunting? Is he alive? Is he a vampire? Is he a zombie? These are things that we need to know.
David wasn't there.
Nah. Okay, so you can't even answer a question about him, but... Alright, fine. Right, okay. Alright, so let's move on to the next person, because Claire has dumbfounded me, and I kind of thought that she was definitely the murderer, but... I don't know, I don't quite have enough to put the pieces together. And the other option is, you know, maybe the people are lying to me. Because on top of Claire, Jaya is also on the top of my suspect list. Because she is way nuttier than she appears to be. Alright, so let's move on to the next person. Oh, joy. The next person is Bryce. I think I've mentioned this before. I don't particularly like Bryce. Oh, look at you, sitting there, tapping on your watch like you have something that's important to be. You Mr. 25 hours a day. How are you today?
There's something I want to tell you about. Something else that's wrong with me.
Really?
I think I've been getting a bit out of control in my hour.
How have you been getting out of control? Did you stab a doctor?
When I first got the hour, I was shocked, obviously. It took me a while to work out that everyone was frozen and only I could move. Because I live on my own. What would you do, Doctor, if you had an hour where everyone was frozen? Go to a fairground?
Yeah, but isn't everything frozen as well? Oh, there's a hint here. Ray assessed what I would do if I had an extra hour. Maybe I should suggest things he might have done to gain his trust. I wonder if he's stolen anything or spied on anyone or helped anyone. Okay, so before I answer his question, I should actually figure out what he would do. Oh, I'd spy on people. Can you see something behind me? You seem preoccupied. You seem preoccupied.
Sometimes I see a girl standing behind you.
Interesting.
I don't know who it is.
Is she about 9 or 10?
I don't know what you're asking me either.
Okay. Interesting. Can you see something behind me?
Possibly a relative of yours. Possibly a patient that died here. I'm not sure. She doesn't normally say anything. It's obviously not real. Probably a side effect of the sleeping pills I'm on.
Alright, so a little girl has popped up in conversation with 2 successive people. There's something going on with that. Wouldn't sleeping pills make you miss the extra hour?
Yes, that does sound weird, doesn't it? I take the temazepam as an antidepressant when I feel I need a little chemical help. I don't want to sleep through my extra hour, so obviously I don't take it at night.
So you're taking sleeping pills during the day. Bryce takes the sleeping pill, temazepam, for depression. Interesting. Tell me more about Dekker.
I dug the grave for Dr. Dekker.
Did you put him in it?
Carry his coffin to the burial site.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? It didn't weigh enough to have a body in it. Why do you think that is?
Probably because he was missing all of his blood. Is Bryce looking at something behind me? This is starting to get a little weird. It's like, hey, what's that thing behind you? Was Dekker's coffin empty?
No, the coffin wasn't empty. There was something in it. A decoy, I'd imagine.
Okay, so it's kind of a twist. On the other hand, Bryce is insane, so it's entirely possible he's completely making this up. Why would there be a decoy?
I'm guessing he was buried somewhere else. Or cremated.
Or
Somebody somewhere didn't want his body going in the ground. Do you want to be cremated or buried, Doctor?
Why do I feel like I don't want to answer that question, especially to you? I'd prefer to be buried.
If you're buried, people can bring you back. You don't want to see people when they've come back.
So you believe in zombies? Alright, so he was... I have a 1 in 4 chance of getting this, and I don't see any other... I'm going to go with the Valentine's Day, and I'm going to try and finish out that line of questioning before I answer this, because I can't quite figure out what Bryce would do, and I don't know how to gain his trust.
I was home alone. I only live 5-minute cycle ride from here, so I could have been and gone several times. But I didn't. I've never been to this office outside my scheduled appointment time.
Sure you haven't. Huh. What do we know about Bryce? He works at a graveyard. He's got that chess piece he was really interested in. The chess piece. It's got to be either the chess piece or the spy on people, because I don't think Bryce is a help people kind of guy, and I'm pretty sure he's not a fairgrounds kind of guy, since he lives alone and he's working in a graveyard. Let's go with steal things, because I think he wants to steal that chess piece, and that's my logic on that.
Yes, I would steal too. And I have stolen.
Yes!
I ran out of milk, so I thought I'd go to the local all-night shop and get some more. I was absolutely intending to pay, but when I got there, everyone was frozen. I thought about leaving money on the counter, but that seemed weird. The cashier would wake and suddenly this money would have appeared from nowhere. But I've stolen bigger things.
Aha! Alright, we're getting somewhere. Alright, what did you steal? Alright, so it's not there. What did you steal? We are getting somewhere. What did you steal?
Yes, I would steal.
Oh, come on! I'd spy on people.
Well, that makes me feel a little better. There's a young mother, divorced, who lives opposite me. Jessica. She's friendly and says hello to me, smiles. I've always wondered what she looks like naked. So 1 hour, I broke into her house. She was standing in her bedroom. I took it as a sign. I took off her clothes and...
Okay, so your creep factor just went up to 11. What did you do? Is that even a... What did you do after taking off Jessica's clothes?
I took photos of Jessica when she was naked.
You're going to jail.
Stripped her when she was naked and frozen. I didn't want to have to do it again, to strip her again. so I took pictures to remind myself what she looked like. That's wrong, isn't it, Doctor?
Yes, that is wrong, and we're going to tell you that right away. Yes, it's wrong to take those photos.
I know. It's that bloody Dr. Dekker. He made me this way. It's all his fault.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you live 5 minutes away from the office. You don't like Dr. Dekker. You're a psychopath, and you've got this extra hour thing going on. All right. Why is it Dekker's fault? All right, so suddenly Bryce is in the lead for being the murderer.
Like I said, I originally presented with depression, and everything was going well for a while. Then Dr. Dekker changed.
Mm-hmm. How did Dekker change?
He was easily distracted during the sessions, like he wasn't listening. I'm pretty sure he wasn't listening half the time. I don't think he wanted to know about his patients anymore. But when he did give you advice...
Alright, so this is fitting yeah, I can speak today. This is fitting a theme in that Jasmine was told to burn down, or burn a painting, and I guess actually she may have actually burned down the art gallery she was working at. So, Dr. Dekker was giving his patients bad life advice, and going crazy, and I guess making everybody else crazy. Okay, what advice did Dekker give you?
He told me to use my imagination, to make something up, to think something crazy, and it would become real. He told me to think of a way to get more time. So I did. But he pushed me. He made me think it.
Okay, it's getting weird. Alright. What if we just answer these last two questions? I go to a fairground.
That was just an example, Doctor. I'm sure you can come up with more exciting things to do than that.
Alright, I am not going to ask how to help people because I think Bryce is a bad person, and I think I would lose his trust if I actually tried to present myself as a good person, so we're actually going to skip that one. Alright, so it looks like we actually have everybody set to go to the next day. And as we all know, when we go to the next day, things get a little crazy, so stay tuned. Okay, we're going to the next day. As soon as I remember how to do that. This button. This button? This button. There we go, next day. Okay. Here we go, kids. Yes, I'm sure.
David Hunt,
I can change my skin.
then Skins.
Dr. Dekker dated his patients.
I had a hot date
We went out for drinks.
I took photos of Jessica.
Dr. Dekker did
on
phone
Valentine's Day.
Ask me for Nathan's number.
There was a girl there.
Am I wrong to keep the locket?
I'm allowed to talk to her, aren't I?
He was preoccupied with finding
Photographs,
patterns.
rocking chair.
I haven't been back to the beach since
I had a bit of a shaky loop incident.
where I find something
I set fire
beautiful in the sea.
to Hannah's clothes in the garden.
I dug the grave.
I wish I'd said goodbye.
Dr. Dekker cursed me.
It didn't weigh enough to have a body in it.
Thank you for that montage.
Oh, Doctor, you surprised me. Reminds me of Officer Yates. Did I ever mention I had a special friend in the police force?
You did not.
It's not something you drop politely into a conversation. He's been doing some digging and he's found a couple things. There's a crime scene report that goes into all the gory details and another report that's about a patient you're seeing today, Clair. I'll put them both on the desk for you. And thanks for the brief counselling, by the way. It's really been helping, you know, I'm so glad you're here.
Hey, no, get off me! What? No! Yeah, she's crazy. Something wrong with her. Okay. Inappropriate. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Bad touch. Bad touch. All right. We have new evidence, so let's take a look at that. Crime scene report. All right. Crime scene report. Case number 2211084, 14th of February 2017. First name is... Oh, no. First name is not there. It's just Dr. and Dekker. He's got no first name. Position of victim. The victim was located in his office, seated on the chair behind the desk, soaked in blood with an obvious chest wound. Possible murder weapons. Paper spike desk accessory, 150 millimeters long, protruding from the approximate region of the victim's heart. Time of death, estimated from liver temperature measurements to be between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. on 14/2/17. Gotta love that European way of making dates, because we do it reverse here in the States. Note that the victim's body was reportedly discovered at 10:20 p.m. on the same date. Cause of death, exsanguination due to punctuation of the left anterior descending coronary artery. Death would have occurred within minutes, etc., etc., etc. And you can't scroll down, so that's all you're getting. But I think that's enough. Now, what about Claire's arrest report? Statement of Christian Weber, Police Officer 7691. To the best of my knowledge, this statement is true. I understand I may be prosecuted if I have stated anything I know to be untrue. At 20:40 hours on Tuesday the 8th of November, myself and PC 9725 Holt responded to a call received from a neighbor of the Bower House, Weston Park Avenue, concerning a reported disturbance. Okay, so the neighbor called it in. We arrived at the address and knocked on the front door, but there was no reply. When we examined the rear of the property and gained entry from insecure patio doors... Oh, we then examined the rear property and gained entry through insecure patio doors. Interesting, because I don't think you're supposed to be able to do that. But again, this isn't the United States, so maybe they can. We entered the property through this door, and I announced myself as shouting police, but not hear any response. We searched the premises. Upon entering the dining room, I saw a female seated next to a man who was lying on the ground. The man did not appear to be conscious. Both persons were drenched in blood, and there was a substantial amount of blood on the carpet, walls, and furniture. I noted what appeared to be a steak knife on the floor, which was also covered in blood. At this point, I asked the woman to put her hands on her head, which she did. PC Holt secured the female while I checked the man for signs of life, but found none. I thought so. I asked the woman her name, and she identified herself to me as Clair Castleford. I asked if she knew the dead man, and she said that was her husband, David Castleford. I asked what happened, and she said that she had killed him. Following a search by PC Holt, which revealed no other persons present at the house, I said to Castleford at 20:52 hours, "You are under the arrest for suspicion of murder." Double underline on that guy. I then cautioned her and placed her in the back of the police car for transportation to Weston Park Police Station, where I the circumstance of the arrest. Okay, so we know she killed her husband, and we knew this before, but we couldn't make her admit it. And the arrest report says Claire killed David. I've underlined some things to ask her about. I wonder if Bryce buried David. What happened with Ben? Ask the patients about the paper spike. Too much to do today. Ha ha! Alright, let's get this started. Okay, let's start with how are you today?
I've been to the lake house regularly, keeping an eye on David. I saw the girl again, the one I told you about. She was playing outside.
Okay, so let's follow up on everything before we accuse her of the murder. Oh. Alright, how was the girl? Let's do that. How was the girl? How was the girl? Because I think once we start picking at that thread for the murder, we're going to lose all other question lines.
Sorry. I don't know. You
don't know about the girl that you saw, that you just mentioned. Have you seen your arrest report?
It makes for interesting reading, doesn't it? I can tell you're dying to ask me about it. Fire away.
Wow, I'm actually speechless. Alright, the report says you were arrested for murder.
That's what it says.
Yes.
I can see you're confused. The police say that David is dead, fatally wounded when I stabbed him. The coroner says that David is dead. Everyone says that David is dead. There was even a funeral. But I know he's alive.
Okay. Supposition here. Claire has mentioned that David is walking around while being dead. And Bryce has mentioned that people come back. I think we're going to have a Claire and Bryce day. How could you have a funeral if David isn't dead? Did you intend to fatally wound him? Do you intend to fatally wound him? Let's go with that.
David wanted to have a talk about our relationship. Not something any married person wants to hear. He said he'd been with Iris for about a year and that he loved her. He said he didn't love me anymore. Which I know is a lie. You don't just fall out of love with somebody. I reacted badly. I grabbed the nearest weapon I could find, which happened to be the steak knife, and stabbed him with it. There was so much blood. I instantly regretted it.
Yeah, because he's...
So, I fixed him.
Uh-oh. How did you fix him?
It was about a week later. brought David back to life.
Yep.
Not with voodoo, not with virginal sacrifice. I just willed it to happen, and it did. Dr. Dekker told me it was possible, but only if you're not buried. He says once you're in the ground, there's no coming back. But until then, you have a chance at resurrection.
Or you could be straight up crazy. But again, this is a Lovecraftian universe, so... How could you have a funeral if David isn't dead?
He's buried at Henley Church. You can go see for yourself. There's even a headstone. One of your other patients was a pallbearer. I never forget her face. You should ask him.
It's probably Bryce. Which patient was a pallbearer?
Bryce was a pallbearer for David. He's also a gravedigger, I believe.
This is interesting. How do you know Bryce?
Smuggling a body out of a funeral can be difficult, unless you pay the right people.
Well, he's got that extra hour every day, so I should tell Bryce that Claire says she's been smuggling bodies. It's very interesting. Did you resurrect David?
Yes, resurrection. But now that I've seen the results, I don't think there's anything holy about it. I think reanimation is more an accurate term. Like, I'm an evil necromancer raising things from the dead.
Okay, what were the results of David's resurrection?
I think his brain was already decaying during the week that he was dead. Important bits. So when I brought him back to life, I didn't heal him completely. Just gave him life in the state he was in. I mean, he's hunting and killing things and trying to roast them on fires he can only light with matches, but that's about it. He's your basic Neanderthal. So I have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You do have a problem. I mean, either you're crazy or you have a zombie husband. Actually, let's ask that. Is David a zombie? Is David a zombie? Thank you, Tom, for this keyboard, by the way.
Yes, he did come back to life, but he's not a zombie.
Oh, I got a hit on that one.
He looks like he always did. Just his mind is encumbered. There's no way back.
Excellent. Okay, anytime I can get an extra piece of information out, I am actually really happy. All right, what problem do you have?
I'm being charged with murder because the police don't know he's still alive, and I can't get David to vouch for me for obvious reasons. I think it would raise quite a few more questions than answers, which is why I'm hoping that you'd be able to help me.
I'm not sure I like where this is going. How can I help you?
Considering the circumstances, I'd be grateful if you could see your way to declaring me temporarily insane at the time of the murder. To lessen my sentence. Because I'm not a killer. But I can't prove otherwise. You don't still think I'm a killer, do you, Doctor?
Well, just the opposite. You did kill David. You killed David. The fact that you brought him back to life doesn't fix the fact that you killed him in the first place. So, yes, you're a killer.
At worst, it's manslaughter. I didn't mean to kill him. I just stabbed him a bit.
Really?
And although he was dead for a week, I brought him back to life. Does this mean you won't help me? Was I temporarily insane?
I don't think you're temporarily insane. I think you're actually insane. Do you know anything about the paper spike? Because you know what? I think my answer here depends on whether or not you're going to give me anything helpful.
A paper spike is an odd thing to use as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose if it went directly into the heart, it might work. Or through his eye, or perhaps through the ear into his brain. Or was it just a frenzied, bloody mess of a murder? Do you know, Doctor?
The problem here is I don't want to declare her temporarily insane. I want to declare her insane. Because she is. Even if, like, all of these things are true, like, even if she did bring him back, even if he's a zombie, she still went crazy and stabbed him. But I'm gonna do it, because I think that she should go to the loony bin, because I think that she won't get out of there unless she proves herself sane. And I don't see that happening.
Thank you, Doctor. That's all I needed to hear. From you or Dr. Dekker. But Dr. Dekker wouldn't do that for me. He wanted something else.
All right, what did he want?
Dr. Dekker teased me mercilessly about my electability. He didn't believe I'd reanimated David. Once, he presented me with a dead mouse and commanded me to give it life again. I didn't, of course. It's not something I'd throw around lightly. He changed his mind about me eventually. And then he mentioned the girl.
Okay, this keeps coming back to the girl. What girl did Dekker mention?
He told me he'd locked up a girl in the basement of his house. Just for me. And he asked me to reanimate her. It was Iris. I said I couldn't reanimate something that wasn't dead, and he said that wouldn't be a problem. So I agreed. I just played along. I was hoping it wasn't real. I assumed it wasn't real. But he was offering me what I wanted. A temporary insanity diagnosis.
I wonder if I would have gotten this information by not giving her that, but... Did you help Iris?
It didn't happen. Dr. Dekker called me from his house to cancel. He was furious. He said that Iris had escaped, and he blamed me for it. He said that I must have set her free after he told me about her. I knew it was all lies anyways. He was obviously titillating himself by reprimanding me. He knew I'd never want to speak to Iris again, so I couldn't prove it either way.
Or he had a woman locked up in his house and was ready to murder her so you could bring her back to life. Claire says the girl in Dekker's basement was Iris. Or he could be crazy. I mean, alright, so what changed Dekker's mind if he didn't bring Iris back to life?
Dr. Dekker asked if I could prove David wasn't dead, so I took him to the lake house. He saw that I was telling the truth. I can take you to see him too, if you like. Would you like to see David, Doctor?
I think we have to see David at this point. Yes, I'd like to see David.
Very well. In our next session.
I can't wait to be eaten by zombies, because, you know, that's where I think this is going to go. Alright, one follow-up question before we move on. What happened to Iris? What happened to Iris?
It didn't happen.
Oh, okay. Alright, so she doesn't know anything more. Alright, I'm going to ask Bryce some more questions in this session because I think we're onto something. So let's keep going. Okay, let's follow up with Bryce and see if we can figure out what's going on with burying people and David and Dr. Dekker. But first, how are you today, Bryce?
Hello, Doctor. I've been thinking about our last session, and I just wanted you to know that I'm not a bad person.
I disagree.
I know taking naked photographs is wrong. But you don't know what it's like until you face the same temptation. I'm assuming you don't know what it's like.
No, I don't know what it's like to freeze time.
Extra hour, Doctor?
No, I don't have an extra hour, Bryce. You're nuts. No, I don't have an extra hour.
Thank God for that. There's someone else in my hour.
Uh-oh.
A hooded figure, watching me and following me. I followed it too.
Okay. Who is the hooded figure?
I don't know who it is. My initial thought was that it was you. That I told you about my affliction and somehow you'd got it too.
No, I got the Nathan thing.
Now I think maybe it's the military or some organization that wants to use the hour themselves. Maybe it's Dr. Dekker risen from the dead. I need to talk to you about him.
Oh, this is getting very interesting. What else can you tell me about Dekker?
I spied on Dr. Dekker not long before he was murdered. I'm not sure I should tell you what I saw in his basement.
Was it Iris? Actually, we could say, you know, what did you see in the basement? We already know the answer to that. You might as well tell me.
I'd been feeling uneasy with Dr. Dekker for some time. I mentioned how he'd changed before, so I began spying on him at home. One night, the basement door was open, and Dekker was returning upstairs. I skipped past him, and there she was, a girl. It was difficult to tell. It was dark, and she was chained.
What did you do with the chain girl?
I removed the chains, dressed her, and sat her in the police station. There's no evidence, though. No evidence of what he'd done. But she was free. I saved her. I'm not evil. I destroyed evil.
Yeah, those things are not mutually exclusive, Bryce. Why would the military be following you?
I'm surprised I haven't been approached earlier. I mean, my skills in the military. Special ops would be a breeze, wouldn't it? Waltz in past everyone during the midnight hour, get whatever you want, and return to friendly soil. It also makes me think that they might already know all of that, and that they want to get rid of me in case I tell anyone else. Would you do something for me if they get me?
What is it you want? What do you want me to do?
Would you tell Jessica I love her?
Oh, God.
She didn't really know me that well, but I did love her. And also, there's a hard drive in the bottom drawer of my drinks cabinet. Please destroy it. Please, don't look at it.
So your creep factor just went up to 15. I guess I have no choice, but you know what? When the time comes, buddy, I'm totally looking at that hard drive. Alright, where did you follow the hooded figure?
Whatever it is that's following me, it doesn't want to catch me yet. If I move towards it, it runs away. And when I follow it past temptations. A bar brawl, an open till, an open bedroom window. Like it's testing me.
Oh, got a clue here. Bryce says he took the girl in Dekker's basement to a police station. I wonder if we can get information from Jaya about that. Jaya. Alright, tell me about the bedroom window.
I looked in. Watching other people is somehow built into our genes, Doctor.
Man, you're a creep.
There was an old woman in bed. I went inside. Her bed covers were smoking. I think she'd fallen asleep holding a cigarette. I took the covers and put them in the bath. She'd have died otherwise. And no, I didn't take any pictures.
Wasn't going to touch... Okay, alright, we're moving on. Tell me about the bar brawl.
I split the ball up.
That's it? Alright, I guess there's nothing really interesting about that. Tell me about the open till.
I did nothing. I'm not stealing anymore.
You're trying to reform your creepiness. Okay. Did you did you bury David Castleford?
I'm actually a classically trained pallbearer.
What?
There are a lot of health and safety considerations. Not everybody can do it. Well, properly at least. Occasionally I step in if the funeral director is short-shouldered. I do remember her face. She wasn't upset in the usual way. She seemed agitated. Her husband must have been a giant. The coffin was so heavy. I remember because aft port side sprained his ankle. That and he wasn't lifting correctly.
The guy's name is Aft Portside? What? Who is Aft Portside? Who? You can't put that word out there. Who is Aft Portside? I know I'm probably not going to get anything, but who is Aft Portside?
I find using nautical terms to describe the position of pallbearers fitting. Plus, most of them are 3 sheets to the wind. You know, drunk.
Yes, I know what that means. Okay, so that's not a name, that's just a thing that you made up. Alright, thank God for that, because if somebody's name was Aft Portside, I don't know how I would go along in life if my name was Aft Portside. That was... If you're out there and your name is Aft Portside, I'm sorry. Alright, did Claire ask you to do something with David's body?
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, Doctor. I saw Claire Castleford's husband in the coffin myself before carrying him to the grave. He is in the ground. I'm sure it wouldn't take much for the police to get an order to have him exhumed. Just make sure it's done on Tuesday morning when I'm off.
Okay, so Bryce is saying I should tell Claire. Bryce says her husband is in the ground. Well, this might be a slightly longer episode than I anticipated because I don't want to follow up with Jaya this time, but I'm definitely going to follow up with that. Tell me about the paper spike.
Dr. Dekker frequently used that paper spike on his desk as an example. I'm sure he did it with the other patients too. He'd make me look at it, touch the point to see how sharp it was. He'd tell me that because I think it's sharp, it will hurt me. But if I thought it was nothing, it could pass right through my hand.
So he was nuts. Have you seen Jessica again?
Jessica is a beautiful woman. I've not spied on her since the incident we talked about. I have real feelings for her, Doctor. I just...
Can't stop being a creep.
We've never connected.
Yep. Okay. Maybe you should try talking to Jessica. I mean, I feel bad for Jessica, but okay, that would be healthier than... I really can't even advocate you doing this, but I'm going to follow this through because this is what the game wants.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. It's nice you think I'm capable of such basic interaction with females. But I'm still in awe of her, really.
I actually don't think
I
you're
will think about it, though.
capable of basic interaction. But, how's your job?
I put my hand through a rusty nail at work. It hurt like hell and bled like I'd been shot. I closed my eyes and thought, this isn't happening. The nail is just a worm, and it will wriggle through me. When I looked back, can you guess what I saw?
You don't have any bandages on your hand, so I'm guessing, what did you see when you looked at your hand? It's gonna be clean, healed, fine.
When I looked back at my hand, it was healed. Look, see?
It's like the nail never existed. Alright. Let's just follow up with Claire. So, Claire, are you lying about never seeing Dekker outside your sessions? Did you speak to the girl at the lake house? How is it possible David was brought back to life? Are you lying about seeing Dekker outside of your sessions?
How astute, Doctor. Yes, I did say I hadn't seen Dr. Dekker outside of our sessions. That wasn't a lie. Our trip to the lake house was made during a session.
Yeah, I think you're splitting hairs on that one. How is it possible David was brought back to life?
You tell me. What could possibly explain that?
You crazy? Are you lying about David being alive?
If David doesn't exist, then that means that I really did kill him. He really is buried, and I really should be going to prison for a very long time. That just doesn't seem right to me. It's more probable that I reanimated him under Dr. Dekker's guidance.
Yeah, that seems more probable than you being a straight-up murderer. Do you think you might be seeing David's ghost?
I assure you, David is not a ghost. I've touched him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's as real as Rusty Nail. Is David not human?
Since I brought him back, I felt that there was something different about him. Something not quite right. I think it's his brain. But how ludicrous that you can bring someone back in the first place. It's like that book, Pet Cemetery. Funnily enough, he does smell of earth, but that's because he spends most of his time out hunting.
Yeah, did you speak to the girl at the lake house? Okay.
I didn't speak to her this time. Something about her made me feel uneasy. I just watched her from the bedroom window. She'd caught a fish. She was holding it in her hands.
Okay. What did the girl do with the fish?
I wasn't close enough to see, but for all intents and purposes, it looked as if the fish bit her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive.
Yeah, Alright, so Bryce says David is dead. Let's try that. Bryce says David is buried. B-U-R-I-E-D.
Smuggling a body out of a funeral.
Oh, come on. Alright, so I guess even though we know now that Bryce is saying that David is really dead and really buried and doesn't corroborate with her story, we can't get through to Claire because she's just that crazy. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the series, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.